I'm going to start with like a brief background of money laundering. So how it started, right? So whenever you want to understand something, you need to know about its history. So it will so it will be much clearer. So I'm going to now show you this video, right? And I will explain also. Like and so this video is actually from this documentary Cocaine Cowboys. So this okay. So this video tells about the history, how the Money Laundering Act, first ever Money Laundering Act, was introduced. So first Money Laundering Act was introduced in the United States, right, around 1986.
Okay.
So I will play this video and I will explain. I will in the between I will stop the video and explain what is going in this video. Right?
Okay.
So you must know about Florida, right? Miami.
Yeah.
So everywhere. So if you look at this map of Florida. So see, there is a Florida, right? And closest to the Florida are Cuba and Cuba, usually Cuba and North American countries. So Venezuela, Colombia, and other countries. So during 1960s, what happened was there was a huge revolution in Cuba, right? That is the time when Che Guevara initiated the coup and destabilized the government. So what happened during that time was many criminals, right? They left or they fled Cuba and went to the closest country, which was Florida at that time. So I guess you have watched that Scarface, right?
Actually, from all the material I have read and watched, I heard a lot about this movie, but I never watched it. But I should be doing it.
So if so, my suggestion is that if you are going to build a career on money laundering, you need to watch the movies that is related to money laundering. So, one is Scarface, right? So this is a it's a learning techniques, because whenever I went for any certification, I used to watch all the movies related to that certification, because it makes you interesting. It becomes more interesting to learn. So, and this happens in actual real life also. So if you watch that Scarface, so I forget that actor name of the actor, main actor name.
Al Pacino.
Yeah, it's such a shame, right? Okay, so Al Pacino, right? So Al Pacino, and that movie actually depicts the Al Pacino was a criminal, and he actually fled Cuba in a fear of reprimandation to Florida, and so in 1960, and that movie was based on this 1960 scenario. So during so in the 1960s, those criminals went to the Florida, and after that, what they did was they started to import drugs from Colombia and Cuba and other North American countries. So let's play this video.
That's very, very hard.
So these criminals first started with marijuana, right? And after they they progressed towards refining that marijuana and exporting cocaine, right? Developing cocaine, and the cocaine was big hit at that time. So it would United States became a huge market to consume that product. So everybody was doing, right? Even movie stars and all those people's, even students. Most of people, or lots of people, were doing cocaine at that time. Why? Because there was no regulation. There was no regulation, and law enforcement was not also that proactive. We stopped that cocaine, and it was, it was thing as a, it was taken as a like taking wine or alcohol. So it was socially accepted at that time. So it became more, more prevalent in the United States society, and because of that, these criminals began to earn a lot of money. So as the money grew, right? So these
Yeah.
criminals were able to like purchase a lot of luxurious goods with that illegal money, and there was a now as the drug trafficking became rampant and law enforcement, became more focused toward it and made it illegal. Now they had illegal money and lots of illegal money. They need to now convert it to legal money. So then after that, money laundering came into the picture. So how they are going to money launder all those criminal proceeds? So what they did was they started to own legitimate business, and started to pushing that money in that business, and also they were able to uh, establish bank for themselves, right? Or even they bribe bank officials to launder those money.
Yeah.
So in a way that all that drug money was, was in the society, in every aspect of society, that money was affecting every part of the society. So now these are the consequences of drug money. Faster than any other. So one criminal group were starting to do drug trafficking. So as they became more profitable, then other group also started to jump into that business. So these are where the organized criminals. So in other words, they were known as cartel, right? So there was one cartel group who were supplying certain drug to certain territory, and maybe there was another cartel who wanted to move into that territory. So there was a total war between those cartels, and lots of people were like found dead in the state, and gunfight was very much common during that time. So 1970s and 1960 was not a very beautiful time to live in Florida. You know, many criminals end up dead, and also the lot of there was a lot of collateral damage. Innocent civilians were also caught in that fire. And after that, government decided to do something. So finally, around 1986 or 1980s, so when Ronald Reagan was the president of United States, so he thought that something has to be done to fight this drug trafficking. So he used military to control all those drug trafficking, and at the same time, money laundering was first money laundering act. It was called Money Laundering Act 1986 was introduced. So the gist of that Money Laundering Act was that. So what act was this? So if you were found with like huge amount of cash, then you need to prove what is the source of income, or what was your source of income for that cash. If you have no evidence, documented evidence to uh, prove that source of income from where you derive that amount of cash, you would be put into the jail. So this was the major advantage of Money Laundering Act, and it actually helped in a fight against the drug trafficking. And after that, and after a few years, FATF was born. Right? FATF was established, and the main purpose of introducing and money laundering acts and establishing FATF was to fight money laundering coming from drug trafficking. So drug trafficking was a very huge issue at that time. And after September 9/11, right after the collapse of Twin Tower, then there was another issue. So it was fighting against terrorism. So
FATF came before 9/11?
yeah, right.
Okay.
So previously there were 40 recommendations, right? So I think it was established around 1990.
Okay.
So before 1990, okay, before 9/11, there was a 40 recommendation, FATF 40 recommendation, right? And all those recommendations were direct directed towards controlling drug trafficking. And after September 9/11, right, and government leaders of different nations thought that they need to fight a war against terrorism. So FATF developed additional 9 recommendations to fight terrorism financing, okay, to stop terrorism financing. So it became like 40 plus 9 recommendations. So there were 49 recommendations. And during 2012, FATF again revised those recommendations uh, and that integrated all those 90 recommendations with 40 existing recommendations, and they came with the only 40 recommendation. This was the history of FATF and money laundering. So
Okay.
I think that you found it interesting, right? Uh,
Yeah, I thought FATF was came as a result of 9/11.
no, no. So previously, the money laundering was previously the main problem is main problem of money laundering was drug trafficking. Okay, they
Okay.
developed different acts and policies to control the money laundering coming from drug trafficking. So drug trafficking
Yeah.
was a huge issue, right? And after 9/11, there was a shift in perspective, and they went for terrorism financing. So, and within that time, all the different. We'll also talk about this predicate offense, right? So predicate offense are different offense which generates the need of money laundering. So one is drug trafficking. Now, drug trafficking is not that serious offense. So now
Yeah. Right.
in today's context, human trafficking has become the most heinous crime, right? And this is more
Yeah.
profitable
Mhm.
nowadays. So they are more focusing on human trafficking. Now, recently there is a so recently after the launch of Bitcoin, right? So the Bitcoin has also been a serious issue, right? So this predicate offense, this if offense increases like every year. So now we have a lot of predicate offenses. One is drug trafficking, another is human trafficking, then there is a kidnapping, animal trafficking, extortion. So all these offense generates the need of money laundering, and we'll talk about the difference between the money laundering and terrorism financing also. So okay, let me ask you this, Alex. So what is the money
Mhm.
laundering?
So it's to make funds from originating from criminal activity to be back into the banking system, to the financial system again, without being able to be traced to its origins. So as to everybody thinks is clean money.
Okay. So how does money laundering actually happens? What is one particular thing that is that is changed during the money laundering?
It changes hands. It gets split in small quantities, just as to not start any alarms. It gets distributed through lots and lots of people who are not necessarily the owner of that amount of money. Just so in a way that it passes more easily through the alarms and the red flags of the financial institutions and the governments, and then it turns out to be like be able to, when it's clean again, to be able to be used for anything that the criminal wants.
So these are the lot of details, Alex. But the main concept of money laundering. So you know, so let's say you get salary, right? You get certain amount every month, remuneration, right? So what is that
Yeah.
source of income? What is the source of income for that amount?
Work.
Right? It's your work. It's your
Yeah.
source of income, right?
Yeah.
And if, let's say, if you are no more employed, then that source of income will be not available, right? It means that you will not be, you will not get that money, right?
Yes.
So without source of income, there is no money,
No money. Yeah.
right? Now, let's say somebody does drug trafficking and he generates a lot of money. So what is
Yeah.
the source of that money?
Crime.
Right, drug trafficking, right?
Yeah.
So if there is no drug trafficking, you will not able to earn that money on
Yeah.
that criminal proceeds. So now, if he goes to that bank, goes to any bank with that criminal proceeds, and say that like I have generated this amount of money from drug trafficking, will any bank with the right mind will accept that amount?
Not no, no, not usually,
No,
no.
they will raise STR or they will call police or whatever, right?
Yes. Yes.
They will not accept that money. So
Yes.
now that criminal has to, now the criminal has this dilemma. He wants that money, right? And he cannot utilize that money without channeling it or without placing it in the bank, right? He
Yeah.
need to use that money. So he has no other option to hide source of income, right? Because the
Yeah.
source of income for that money is always be drug trafficking. So
Yeah.
he wants that money. To utilize that money, he needs to hide that source of income, because if you
Yeah.
eliminate the source of income, there will be no money at all. So he
Yes.
cannot eliminate that source of income, but he
It has
needs
to
to
hide.
hide that income. So that is the major concept of money laundering. And it was actually introduced by the first criminal, first organized criminal. Can you guess his name?
Uh, Al Capone?
Right. So how did you guess that? Guess his name.
You said first criminal. I would think about the 1930s and yeah, organized
Okay.
crime. Yeah.
Okay. So yes, Al Capone made a lot of money during the recession area, right? When there,
Yeah.
the consuming alcohol was prohibited, right?
Yeah.
Consuming, selling, buying alcohol was prohibited. So during that recession area, he smuggled a lot of alcohol and he made the money out of it. So
Yeah.
he was the first person who developed this concept of organized crime, right? So
Okay.
mafia cartel is like of organized crime. So they have a certain people, and it is organized. Whenever we talk about organized, we will automatically think about a certain structure, right? So
Yeah.
if we talk about organization, it has a certain structure. So these organized criminals have a certain structure. So there used to be a certain at the first place there is a don, and under don there are a lot of soldiers, and
Yeah.
under that soldier there are also a lot of pawn soldiers. So in this way these criminals were organized, and what he did was that he opened these laundering shops, right, where he used to wash clothes, right? So so he had a lot of these shops at different places all around the United States. So what happened was that criminals used to go into these shops with a bag full of cash, right? And and against that cash, they used to this shop used to provide receipt. So now this money was treated as the legal money of this shop, and this
Yeah.
shop used to deposit that money into
The bank.
different banks, right?
Yeah.
So in this way, they were able to hide that illegal money by saying that the source of income was
So
legitimate money received from the business.
yeah.
So this is the main concept of money laundering, right? So you cannot. So it is an act of concealment, disguise, source, location, movement, ownership, right? So all the thing money laundering has to do with concealment and disguise. Either you need to hide it, or you have to replace that source of income with any other source of income. So you need
Yeah.
to disguise it. So this is the major definition. And whenever I give training to, like, my staffs, or I have to go to other place, I always ask this question: what is the money laundering? And they always give the same answer: converting illegal money into legal money.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a basic definition. But how? Yeah, but how that illegal money becomes a legal money? That's an important concept. So if you look at like, if we go through this CISA review manual, and you need to understand, you need to keep this only one thing in your mind: source of income, right?
Okay.
So whenever there is a source of, whenever there is a non-clarity about the source of income, then there is a something suspicious. It might be related to money laundering.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving ahead. Again, Alex, my suggestion is that after we go through this lesson, right? So you go through the CISA review CAMS study guide, right? And also, I will send you that Google Drive link, and from which you can download that software. And in that
Yep.
software, you will get those study notes for every chapter. So after after going that study guide, then you can go through those study notes. So it will help you to retain those concepts for longer time, and it will also increase your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Regarding okay, and the next thing is knowledge. If you know that this money money is related to some kind of criminal offense, and if you accept this, then if you accept that money, it is again criminal offense.
Yeah.
And there is a willful blindness. So what does this mean is that you know that there is a money laundering going on, and you didn't do anything about it. So this actually applies to banks, right? So if they facilitated any money laundering activities, or they executed any money laundering transaction, still knowing that it was derived from any kind of predicate offense or criminal offense, they can be like, their license can be like revoked, or they have to suffer from heavy penalties and fines.
So it can be so willful blindness applies to people and institutions as well, right?
Right, both.
Okay.
Both. So willful blindness means you know that wrong things are going on, but again you didn't say anything about it. You just blindly accepted it. Right? And now the terrorism financing. So there is a few key difference between money laundering and terrorism financing.
Yeah.
First one is money laundering is always done in a huge amount. And for terrorism financing, it can be a very few amount. So it is very difficult to detect. And another major difference is for money laundering, usually almost always the amount is from criminal offense, criminal activities. But for terrorist financing, the funds can be from a perfectly. Yeah, Alex, you want to
it can
something?
be a legal source.
Yeah, legal source. So how does this happen?
Yeah, maybe the crazy terrorist has some ideas, political ideas, and he has some totally normal people who sympathizes with their ideas, and they decide, oh yeah, I'm going to give money to this guy. So this is it can be donations or anything. So just legal money from so to say normal people.
Right, beautifully explained. And thanks, Alex. So you have completely understood this point. So again, the sources can be from the legitimate source. However, the process, another major difference is in terrorism financing, they try to hide the purpose.
Yeah.
So in money laundering, they are trying to hide the source of income, right?
Yeah.
But in terrorist financing, they want to hide the purpose. So what is that money is going to use for? Usually in terrorist financing, terrorists usually want to either blow something up, right? Or
Yeah.
maybe they want to do mass shootout. Yeah. So they
Yeah.
want to try to hide purpose. So that is also the major difference between money laundering and terrorism financing. And to hide purpose, they use the techniques of money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different techniques, and we'll also talk about this techniques in later course. Okay, let's move to our next slide. So you must know about these three stages of money laundering, right?
Yeah, it's pretty confusing.
Okay. So what are your confusion?
uh Sometimes I read about examples. I may go and get some examples for you, but sometimes I read about examples and a case study. Okay, what is displacement, layering, or integration? And
Uh,
then most of the times I get it wrong
okay.
because the difference between placement and integration for me is not so clear. Placement could be like from the just by analyzing the word, you're placing the money back into the no, but that is integration. If you're
Uh,
placing the money in the legal in a using for legal stuff, then is not placement, it's integration. So even like the whole wording, it can generate confusion.
okay. This is why I'm here. Okay. So
Mhm.
actually, so you for to understand these stages of money laundering, you actually need to understand the basic concept. You know, the concepts are very simple. You know, the placement. If you look at its literal meaning, it means putting something, right? Putting something. So in
Yeah.
case of money laundering, it is placing money, right? Or criminal proceeds, whatever. It can be your money, simple money, right? Other, it can be any kind of asset,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So this is the place, this is the stage where you are trying to enter that money into financial institution or maybe non-financial institution. So if we take the example of bank, so as a money launderer, you are trying to deposit that criminal proceed into any bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
because you need to understand here in this stage you have a criminal with a money, lot of criminal proceeds, illegal money gained from illegal activities. Now he
Yeah.
cannot use that money right outward, right? He needs to do something to hide that source of income. So
Yeah.
first he needs to place that money into some kind of financial institution or non-financial institution. So if we talk about non-financial institution, let's say real estate, he needs to use that money to buy certain real estate property. Now, when that criminal is buying any kind of real estate, he is placing that illegal money in a real estate as an account to purchase real estate.
Okay.
So at the
But
first,
why is this not integration?
okay, that I will come to later. Is that will I'll come to
You
later
see,
while
that's
talking
where it
about.
gets confusing to me.
Yeah. So, but you have understood this placement phase, right?
I think so.
Okay. From my explanation,
The illegal money is going is usually into a financial institution. Okay, that's fine. It can be a casino as well. It can be
right.
insurance and so on. But then, if that money doesn't go to a financial institution, instead it goes to a nice Audi, Porsche shop and buy cars,
See,
then is that integration or placement?
see, one thing you need to understand is where, what is the state of that money. So If the money is with criminal and that money he has gained from criminal proceed and he has not done anything with that money, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a person, you need to imagine there is a criminal person, right?
Yeah.
And he has a godown or bag full of cash which he have generated from illegal activities, and he
Okay,
has
that's
nothing.
dirty.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
he has done nothing about that money yet.
Okay.
Okay, he's holding that cash and he wants to put that cash somewhere. Maybe it can be a bank, maybe some kind of non-financial institution like casinos or real
Yeah.
estate. So he
Okay.
needs to insert that money somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
so can you imagine that picture?
Yeah. Yeah. That money there now is dirty. Okay, that's fine.
Right, and he's very scared. You can also imagine him being scared
Okay.
because if he is found with that much of cash, he will surely go to jail. So he
Yeah.
needs to immediately place that money somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the placement stage. Now layering is quite straightforward, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is the layering, Alex?
Layering is all the proceedings that you go about to do as much as possible to conceal the origin of the money, like you try to not raise any red flags, you try to not draw attention.
This is the stage where you actually hide the source of income,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as I told earlier, you cannot entirely eliminate the source of income, but you
Mm-hmm.
can hide that source of income. And only
Yes.
one mechanism of hiding that source of income is to create a layer of transaction,
Yeah.
right? So when you move this is a very common example, right? So when you move that amount from, so in placement phase you have successfully able to deposit that money in some bank account. Now you cannot freely use that money because the source of income is still that criminal offense, right?
Yeah.
At this
Mm-hmm.
stage your source of income has not been hidden. So now what you do is you move that money, let's say from one bank account to another bank account, from that bank account to maybe you will wire transfer to foreign account, right?
Yeah.
Foreign bank account, then you again wire transfer that amount again to your own country, then you
Yeah.
move into another bank account. So in this
Mm-hmm.
way, when you are moving when you are moving that amount from one account to another account, you are creating the transaction record, right?
Yeah.
So when this transaction record piles up, then we call this transaction as a layer of transaction. Okay, there is
Okay.
one layer of transaction, and after that there is another layer of transaction, and then after that there is
Mm-hmm.
more such layer of transaction.
Yeah.
Now, why this kind of trail is created? This is the important question.
To
This is
stop tracing.
right. So actually, in layering, what you are doing is you are creating the layer of transaction to frustrate law enforcement official. So
Mm-hmm.
when they are like up to you, they are trying to find the source of income, they will find this layer of transaction, and they have to examine all those transactions to actually find that source of income. So when you create a lot of layering of transaction, it will be very difficult to trace that transaction.
Yeah.
So if you are able to frustrate that law enforcement, then you are able to hide that source of income.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this is all about layering, right? And layering is is very, it can be easily defined than other these two stages. So it can be easily understood. So
Yeah.
usually people have confusion, like you said, Alex, at the placement stage and integration stage.
Okay.
Now let's come to integration stage.
Now, one question. Layering and structuring is the same?
No, structuring. Okay, we'll discuss about structuring also. But right now, so structuring is done to evade threshold. Okay? There is always threshold reporting. So there is a
Oh, okay.
so in Nepal, whenever you deposit more than 10 lakhs or more or withdraw more than 10 lakhs, you need to report that transaction to FIU or
FIU.
regulatory body, right? So
Okay.
whenever you are reporting, it means that someone is looking at the transaction,
Yeah.
and criminals know about it, about this kind of threshold. So what they do is they do the transaction just below threshold, maybe 9 lakh, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 8 lakh. Why? So that that transaction is never reported.
Yeah.
That is what called structuring. Like you structure the transaction in a such a way that it doesn't evade or cross that threshold, and that transaction
So,
is never reported.
so would you say that structuring in is a one sort of layering?
No, that's a placement.
Okay.
You need to understand.
Ah.
Yeah, you need to understand when the structuring is done. So I'm saying is that any criminal is depositing money, right, by evading threshold or by structuring to evade threshold, so that his transaction is not reported.
Okay.
So if he is doing this kind of transaction during the first phase, right,
Ah. Okay. 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 Okay.
during the stage where he has a lot of illegal money which he need to place in the bank, so that comes under the placement phase,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
right? Now let's talk about integration. So
Yeah.
if you look at the integration, the Oxford dictionary definition is, what is the Oxford dictionary for integration?
You make something be part of something else.
Simply aggregate. You aggregate
Yeah.
those small sum of money or small things into big thing, right? It's an integration. So
Yeah.
here at this phase, the at this phase, all the illegal money, for that illegal money, source of income has been hidden, right?
Yeah.
Now the criminal can freely utilize his money. Or let's say if bank let's say being if somebody asks where this money has come from, he can say that this money has been transferred by his relatives living abroad, right? This is from his friend, anything, right? So at this stage he's able to freely utilize his money. Now he will
Okay.
utilize this money either to, either to buy some luxurious goods for his benefit, or maybe he will apply this money to generate more criminal proceeds or to enhance
Yeah.
his criminal activities.
Okay.
Now, so did you understand the difference between placement and integration?
It's a bit more clear now. Yes.
So placement is a scary situation for criminals, right? He has a lot of money and he's very scared because he needs to get rid of that money quickly. Because if he is found with that money, he will go to jail, right? Because
Yeah.
he's not able to produce the source of income of that money. Because if he
Okay.
says drug trafficking, then he has to go for jail for sure. Then
Yes.
in the integration, he's again with that money, but he's more happy. Why? Because he
Okay.
has hidden the source of income and he can now freely use that money.
Yes.
Okay. So now if you can can you give me the example of any question that you have attempted regarding this stages, then we can be I can more we can discuss that question here.
Yeah. I was in Udemy, but I don't
Okay.
know. Maybe it's another course, and I've been doing Let me see if I can log in here.
And or you can try that question yourself, and if you are still not clear about that, then we can again discuss those stages of money laundering.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Yeah, like one thing I'm going to do is I purchased this course. It's called CAMS Exam Practice Test 2021 plus detailed explanation.
Okay.
And then it's very, very long. So yeah. And I try to do maybe the first 20 questions, then after that, maybe the first 30 questions, and so on and so on. And then as I get learning, I'm going to go further and further. But yeah, some of them are quite, confusing.
Okay. Anyway, you can again try this kind of question where it asks you about which stages of money laundering is this related to. Then you can try that. You can try attempting that question, and if you get it right, then you will understand. You will know that you have understood those concepts. But again, if you have any confusion, we can discuss that question in our next session.